Hello, friends along the network. Everybody feeling real good over to your house? Sincerely hope so. Everybody's feeling good here.
Yes, sir. Ready to go.
Paying a little tribute to Dixieland here. Mary and Zeb to sing When the Roses Bloom in Dixieland.
When the roses bloom in Dixieland, I am coming back.
The South means many different things to people. If you're not from here, you believe we're all card-carrying members of the KKK, drink moonshine, and have rotten teeth, and have the IQ of a kumquat. I'm from Virginia, and Virginians see themselves as Southern aristocrats who started this country and gave birth to the United States. Everyone here thinks they're related to some famous person from history. The reality is most were probably related to the prisoners or peasants the upper class had sent over to see how many would die. The ones left could pave the way for future growth. After all, they would need someone to fill their teacups when the coast was clear.
Attention, please.
I grew up in Princess Anne County, which would later become the city of Virginia Beach. We lived on 3 acres and were surrounded by woods and Mennonite farms. We shared the land with my grandparents and great-grandparents on my mother's side. My grandmother always had strange people coming by with names like Ruby, Goat, Red, and Ethel. I never knew who any of them were and didn't really care much, but they always called us in from outside to say hello. They always said, "Look how much he's grown," and tell me about some distant relative that I looked like, who I could have cared less about, but I knew I had to do it to keep the peace. My father was a fireman in the Norfolk Fire Department and reminded most people of Andy Griffith. Both his father and his brother were firemen as well. My mother was a stay-at-home mom who looked like Mary Poppins but lacked her flying abilities. Me, I was the weird one. I had 2 brothers that had already bonded by the time I arrived, so that left me the third man out. It's funny how as a child you often see yourself as being left out, but you're not sure what you're left out of. Most people seem to want to fit into what their peers view as acceptable behavior.
Good.
They want to get along with others and become part of a group, even to the extent of talking negative about other people who don't share common values. I didn't really like trying to fit in. I never liked the herd mentality. I wanted to go my own way. I would spend hours in my own little world. I loved to get lost in my imagination. What if and why were the games I played most often, and it always started me daydreaming. What if I could fly?
Nice.
What if I could walk through walls? Why did Superman wear long johns and his underwear on the outside? Why do we say war is bad but teach how it solved America's problems? My choice of toys was even strange. I once rode my bike up to the local hardware store and bought kangaroo shoes. Not shoes made of kangaroo leather, but they were like skates with a spring on them. I was convinced I would be able to hop all over the place with them. I ended up jumping off the back porch with them. You could hear the distinct sound of metal on metal slamming together and springs shooting out as I slammed my face on the ground. I tried to take them back to Mr. Reynolds, who owned the hardware store. He just laughed as I handed him the pieces. I also decided I could make wings and fly away. I used roofing sheet metal and cut out what looked like jagged birds' wings. I drilled 4 holes in each wing, put ropes through it, tied knots on the end so I could put my arms through. I needed to get some real height, so I climbed up on the tree fort and jumped off. I thought I would just glide at first and then flap my wings and fly away. But as soon as I jumped, the wings flew straight over my head and cut gashes in my shoulders, and I ended up a pile of sheet metal and blood at the bottom of the tree fort.
That may not be the best choice.
My 4th grade class once took a school trip to Richmond, Virginia, to see all the historic sites. We went to St. John's Church, and I sat in the exact seat where Patrick Henry gave his "Give Me Liberty" or "Give Me Death" speech. While the docent talked about all the events, I realized I had the exact same feelings Patrick Henry did, only mine was about not attending school. My mother had given me money to buy souvenirs on this field trip. While the other kids came back with pottery, blown glass, copies of the Declaration of Independence, and three-corner Revolutionary War hats. I came back with a huge cigar, a little silver lighter shaped like a pistol. I would later burn down the field next to my grandparents trying to smoke the cigar. My grandparents on my father's side bought a house in Scottsville, Virginia, just outside Charlottesville. The house was a great big old house with 7 fireplaces. My great-grandparents lived downstairs, and my grandparents lived upstairs. You could see the James River from the house, and one of Thomas Jefferson's brothers' home was across the river. I loved spending time there. It was basically a 2-street town that looked a lot like Mayberry. The undertaker was also the mayor. Mr. Thacker was his name. It seemed like we were always going into some store, and there were men sitting around a circle around a wood-burning fireplace talking about hunting or what they were going to do or grow in their gardens this year. Well, enough of my childhood. Next is about my interest in music and how it developed.